So again, I'm Frank Felker with Digital Media Positioning, and Holly and I spoke on the phone yesterday. We're really going to give you the same presentation, just from two different perspectives. So what I want to talk to you about is why you should write a book first, and then how you can write a book second. So the first book that I wrote, and you know what you can do is you can cut these in as graphic, is the book that you see called The Greatest Job You Never Thought of. It's because I worked a sales job for a home improvement company that I didn't want to do. And I ended up making a ton of money and having a great time. And that was the greatest job I never thought of. And I wrote that book. I felt compelled to write that book because so many people were out of work at that time, and none of them, many of them, most of them would never consider becoming a salesman. And yet I found out, and I didn't want to be it either. The first line in that book is, many people reading these words, I never considered myself or saw myself as a salesman. And the whole book is about the transformation that I experienced. So that was a book, though, that I felt compelled to write. That's why I wrote that book. There's, as I was doing that, I read a book by a guy who wrote a book about how to write a book. And I learned a lot from that I'll share with you on this next book. I'm afraid I'm going to have to step out of camera for a second.
That's all right.
This is another book that somebody felt compelled to write. It's a friend of mine from college, Steve Kahn. And he actually owns a real estate brokerage, but he has a lot of expertise in how to invest in small cap, micro cap businesses. He felt compelled to write this book because he had this great system. What I learned from the guy who wrote the book about how to write the book is that the most important page in every book is the back cover of a self-help, how-to nonfiction book. Because on the back cover it says, in this book you will learn. And this is what's called the big promise of the book. This is the transformational experience that we're saying will accrue to the reader if they take the time and spend the money to buy and read the book. This is where you start, and I'll come back to how to write the book. But you start with the back cover. There are a number of other books up here that you can take a look at afterwards. The one on the far right is Unlocking the M-Cube. I'll come back to that in a minute. The far back on the right is a book called 7 Steps to Joy. It's a woman named Antonella Lorey. She lives in Switzerland. I've never met her. Worked completely remotely over the internet. She's recently widowed and has gone through a number of other emotional struggles in her life. Felt compelled to write this book. What she wants to do is to speak and counsel people who are also dealing with grief in their lives and how to come back to a place of joy. Insider Secrets of the HVAC Experts is a book written by a guy named Gus Christophe, who owns Cosmos Heating and Cooling here locally. Believe it or not, he closes deal after deal after deal with this book because he's the guy who wrote the book about HVAC. Gus has told me that this book, he said to me, Frank, this book's had a tremendous impact on my business. And I said, why? Are you able to charge premium prices because of it? He says, no, but I get the price I ask for. Oftentimes people get 3 estimates on something like getting their air conditioning replaced. But Gus's estimate also comes with an autographed copy of his book. And he said in the past, it used to be that somebody come in the 3rd estimate, undercut me by $50, they'd get the deal. Now they don't, because I'm the guy who wrote the book. And every one of his deals averages just under $10,000. So every deal that book helps him close makes a tremendous difference in his revenue. This book back here is similarly positioned for a guy who does replacement windows, doors, siding, that kind of thing. And the subtitle is actually before the title. The subtitle is Expert Advice on Maintaining, Repairing, and Improving Your Northern Virginia Home. And this is just about to come out in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle. But again, his salespeople will give this as a gift to Ma and Pa around the table. You know, that's where the sales presentations take place, is at the kitchen table. And again, whatever you choose to do as far as which contractor you pick, this is our gift to you. You're interested today in buying windows, so chapter 3 here is about windows. But I also think you should read chapter 1, which is dealing with contractors. These are some questions you should ask. These are some questions your contractor should ask you. These are some red flags to look out for. These are some green lights that'll tell you got the right person. I have another book I'm working on right now that's called Writing QuickBooks to the Promised Land. How the world's most successful entrepreneurs use the world's most popular accounting software to make more money in less time. The author is Jason Osser, CPA, MBA, based in Annandale. And we have a whole system how we're going to use that book to drive new clients into a CPA practice. But the one that I really want to show you is a book called Note Investing Made Easier. This is written by a guy named Martin Sines. Martin was a real estate investor who started investing in distressed mortgage notes. I could spend all day talking just about this, but on May 1st of this year, this book was published. It also became a #1 bestseller. On November 1st of this year, 6 months later, he had generated over $100,000 in revenue directly tied to this book. He sold $4,000 worth of books. He sold 12 tickets to a workshop he does where people pay $2,000 each to spend 2 days with him learning about note investing. And unbeknownst to me, he also has 3 people paying him $25,000 each to mentor them for 6 months. He's just finished, because of the success of this, we're about to come out with a whole nother thing. This is in Kindle, this is in audiobook, this is in paperback, it is not in hardcover. We're just finishing his online course on Note Investing Made Easier, which will sell for $1,000 with no marginal cost every time somebody buys it. He's now about to launch the exact same thing on a topic called Secrets of Government Contracting. Now, in terms of how to write a book, this is a book that I wrote in a 10-minute presentation, just like I'm giving right now. And the way I did it was, you got one, okay. Would you like one? Okay. Is I recorded it, just as I'm recording right now. So, in terms of how you write the book, you remember the back cover? In this book you will learn. There's generally 6 to 10 bullet points where you describe what you're going to learn, what you're going to come away with, what are the takeaways. You use that as sort of a general construct, and then you create a table of contents. For example, in the book on home improvement, there's a chapter on buying replacement windows, one on buying a new roof, one on a deck, one on doors, you name it. And those are each chapters within the book. Then within each overarching topic area, you come up with 5 to 8 frequently asked questions that you hear all the time from your clients. The reason why this is important is for search engine optimization, and also because you want to give the information that people really need. There could also be questions that should be frequently asked but are not being asked. You put those in there. For example, he came up with this thing about how to deal with contractors. It never occurred to me. He also came up with a chapter about how to deal with insurance claims, which are different than if you decided you wanted to do a project. Those 5 to 8 questions I then draw out of you in a video interview. Each chapter, 1 interview. Generally takes 20 to 40 minutes to do a chapter. I then edit that video so that you end up with a library of videos. I extract the audio out of the videos so you end up with a library of audios. I have the audios transcribed and professionally edited. There's your book. But then the videos, the audios, and the text can be chunked down into individual, one problem, one solution, blog posts, white papers, videos, podcasts, you name it.